Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So what we're going to dive into now, and you called it the process. I think there's this challenge, and we were looking at a clip before of this whole concept of the design intent narrative and how to properly communicate design intent to the various project stakeholders. Have you found, let's start with that. What have you found is the biggest challenge in resonating with the team?
It is a challenge, and the biggest challenge is articulating it from start with, understanding what the design intent is, understanding what the big idea is, and coming to an agreement on that and getting alignment on that with the big stakeholders, the owners or the designers or whoever, and then communicating it. And it's amazing how many conversations we have about challenges on projects, and it almost always boils down to communication. And so how do you communicate it? How do you communicate that big idea at all levels? Like through the SD phase, through the DD phase, through the CD phase. And as the team grows and grows and grows almost exponentially from, the architectural team to the broader design team, to the construction team, to the subcontracting team, and making sure that everybody understands their piece of the pie or their piece of the puzzle and where it fits into the overall whole and how it plays up and speaks to the design graph is a hard thing to do.
Yes. And it's something we were just talking about with Jason before is, if designers are incentivized or set up for success as it relates to that communication channel to the subcontractors, to the manufacturers, because a lot of times I found that when it actually gets down to that final CD level pricing, it's chaotic. We got to get them pricing in, and pricing was yesterday and blah, blah, blah. Well, right now we need to communicate through the construction team, to the architect, but so much of that homework and effort can be done upfront. And I think I would imagine what's required from the design team standpoint is to have that dialogue with vendors and manufacturers and contractors to get relevant, applicable information.
Absolutely. And oftentimes you can't do it, right? Because there are too many subcontractors, and there's not that up. There's not the bandwidth to do that over a length of time that's needed to be done. So you need to bring on the CM of the builder, who's going to oversee the construction process and get them to understand the design intent and press upon them the importance of communicating that design intent to all the people that they bring on the project from the get-go. Like everybody should get the first, a 5-minute spiel about the project, about this is the big idea. If you're the drywall person, you understand how your drywall plays into the big design concept, which is what the owner bought, which is what we're all getting paid for, right? At the end of the day, the product, the vision, and how your piece plays into that.
It's so funny that everyone always goes, fights the drywall guy.
The Kowsy guy, or just say he's the flasher guy, punch you back rather.
So how challenging have you found it to communicate that vision to the owner, to get them to understand it?
It's challenging and different every time. There is no one way to do it. I think you need to spend just a lot of time with the owner to understand how they receive information, how they process information, and be able to deliver the big idea to them in that format. And for some folks it's visual, for some folks it's written, for some folks it's, you need to be recording it somehow, some way, so that they can see it, feel it, understand it, and then get them to almost formally agree to it. So that there's alignment from the get-go in terms of what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, in engineering school, I've been instructed so many times. The only department that has a communications course was the civil engineering folks. For some reason, civil needs to be communicated, but mechanical and electrical isn't as important.
Yeah.
How is that integrated into architectural curriculum?
In school?
Yeah, I mean, I would think when you're presenting your design concepts, is there any of that emphasized?
Well, in school, not so much. There are particular individual courses that you take in terms of learning mechanical systems or structural systems or those kinds of things. I would say in school, I rarely got into how those really integrated into the building. And for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people, that's a learn on the job kind of a thing. And again, when you're just within the design team specifically, earlier you can get those people in, earlier they can understand the design intent, the earlier you can collaborate around how their system, whatever it is, mechanical, structural, can facilitate the design intent or help the design intent. Or, oftentimes it's a direct contrast to the design intent, and then you got to figure out how to make it work together. Like you can build that collaboration and coordination early, and then try to see it through the rest of the project. And that can then start to trickle down.
Do you find a tapering off of, and I don't want to put a negative connotation or stigma around this, but like there's so much time and effort and emphasis put on on the design and achieving the design. And then once the project's bought out, it gets handed off to a different team, like the CA team. And it's like, I don't know, seeing the execution side of things and then actually like relishing and embodying what was achieved.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where so many lessons can be learned.
Yeah,
It's not really overlooked.
different firms do it different ways. Sometimes they do hand it off to a construction team. Best case scenario for me is that there is some institutional firm knowledge that sees the project all the way through so they can carry the design intent. If that's not the case, if you're handing it off, I think then again, you got to fall back on communication. That design intent has to be communicated. And you have to get the people who are going to be the boots on the ground, who are going to be the frontline people communicating with the contractors in the room when they're talking to the subcontractors, understand how all those pieces fit together, how they actually build up into what the picture is, wants to be.
And do you think to get that wisdom or level of expertise, you have to have like the architecture firms? Almost, you know how certain companies or industries have like they call them rotational programs or something where you're going to spend time accounting and this and this.
Yeah.
Like you got to see it on site being built. You got to see it being
Absolutely. I think the best education in the world is drawings as an architect, is drawing something that you didn't quite understand and getting it wrong, or putting a stray line somewhere that then you go into the build and the line stays in the drawing set until it gets blotted out, and that line gets blotted out at something. And now you're the person in the field answering the question about what does this line mean? This is the way I put in this wall because you put a line there. Or I did this thing because you put a line there, and I didn't mean to put that. It was just CAD dust or whatever. And that is a trial by fire learning experience that I think every architect should have.
as living on the subcontractor or manufacturer side. I've seen at times like an estimator or a salesperson will sit there and study a set of drawings and be like, why did they draw this? Or they drew this because they want this. And half the time it wasn't even intentional.
Right.
I think that's the biggest frustration, because sometimes you have to say, well, maybe they didn't want that or mean anything by it, or they just copy and pasted it and just, they don't know how to draw window wall details. So they put a storefront section in there instead.
Yeah. And you don't know, right? You don't know. Banging. Obviously, if you can't optimally, there's an opportunity to ask those questions, but there are probably thousands of those questions. So you don't get a chance to ask all the ones that you want. And you're asking us to do Friday, and you got to make these decisions because I only have 12 hours to get done. And I got, 16, 20 hours worth of work to do before we get there. So yeah, stuff goes in there, and hopefully you cover some contingencies, or, there are other ways that you could cover some mistakes or be able to make up for some mistakes on all sides. I mean, and that's the other piece about collaborating as a team, is that we all make mistakes, right? And the best teams help each other fix their mistakes, and don't leave people hanging out on the skinny branches, like alone, trying to like fix some error that they made. But it's like, we're going to need to get together, come together as a team. I know you screwed that up, but we're going to all have to fix it. And when I screwed up, I'm going to expect you to be in the room to help me fix it, right? Because it's going to happen. And architectural projects and scale and complexity that we do are infinitely difficult to construct and communicate and create.
That's why I was constantly fun. Thanks for coming on. I look forward to talk.